You are a visionary, an entrepreneur, a business owner. You want to make money from your passion and create the freedom that you've dreamed of. But it's slow. The income is slow, the impact is slow, and the freedom is slow. And here's the kicker. You've actually never been busier. You're working longer than ever, burning through daylight, and your family have forgotten who you are. You're tired and frustrated and you can't even sleep well at night. The business just feels so heavy, and all you ever wanted to do was just make the money you want to make doing the things that you want to do. And that's where I come in. Hi, if we haven't met yet, my name is Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I'm the host of the Business Acceleration Podcast, where we shift your business from heavy to light, time poor to time abundant, and from income lack to income growth. We're going to achieve it together with my 20 years experience as a psychologist, helping people just like you to break through their barriers. And we're going to throw in a little of the woo as well. So thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Welcome to another episode of the Business Acceleration Podcast. I'm super excited today because I have a very, very special guest for you. Her name is Crystal Allen, and Crystal is a manifestation coach, and she's from Kansas. Welcome, Crystal.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I appreciate this opportunity.
My pleasure. So what I would really love to do is, hear about your business journey. You're a woman in business. You're a very spiritual person. You're all about things like manifesting and turning dreams into reality and things like that. How did you first get started, or when did you first become aware that you were a spiritual person?
Well, that's kind of two different answers.
Okay.
I have been a spiritual person probably since I was conceived. As far back as I can remember, I've always been, I was the typical light worker. I was different than everyone else. I had lots of psychic gifts. I couldn't relate to my peers. There was always strange things happening to me. However, they seemed normal to me. Things like being able to predict what was around the corner, telling my mom, slow down, there's a cop coming up here around the corner. And, just being normal for me. But growing up in Midwest and Kansas, that's, not your typical kind of thing. And a lot of people, they didn't think that was a normal thing. So having always had those kind of gifts, I also always had the ability to sense spirit around me, entities around me. And I ended up actually suppressing those gifts in my 20s because I was afraid of them. There was no one to guide me, to help me be able to control what came in, what didn't come in. And so I basically just became afraid of it and asked for it to go away. And I actually had suppressed that for probably, almost going on 20 years until I eventually asked for the gift to come back because, what started this all was getting cancer, actually. I had spent a lot of my life, number one, ignoring my gifts, but also not living in my purpose. So one of the last straws for me was to actually get really ill with cancer. And when that happened, I sort of had to wake up to the fact that I needed to live a lot more authentically and to live in my purpose. So that's when I asked for my gifts to come back and when I actually started life coaching.
So is life coaching your purpose?
I do believe it is. As a child, as a young person, people always came to me for advice just naturally. And again, always having those spiritual psychic gifts innately, I truly believe. And I had always been told by spirit to do certain things, like help other people. I was told that I should be writing books, just different nudges that I received all those years, but that I ignored. And it took getting the wake-up call of getting cancer for me to really decide, okay, if I don't actually start doing what I was meant to do here, I might not be around.
That's so powerful. What would you say to other women that might be listening who aren't sure about how to identify their purpose?
I would say that where you are naturally gifted and what you're naturally passionate about is the key to your purpose. Source can come through us in so many different ways. Like for an example, I was just naturally drawn to tarot cards as a teenager. It was just something I was so obsessed with. No one had ever taught me or showed me, but it was something I was just drawn to. And, some people are drawn to singing or art or teaching or whatever it be for each individual person. You're going to naturally be good at it. It's going to not take a lot of effort. You obviously have to hone in your gifts, but it doesn't usually take a lot of effort to start that process. And you're always passionate about it. It's always something that you feel drawn and excited about when you're doing it. And that is definitely where you want to start looking.
Yeah, and I think it was really interesting when you said, it's almost effortless, because we talk on the podcast about having a state of flow. And how would you define a flow state?
Well, for me, it's about being in that feminine, divine energy. I actually spent most of my life when I was fighting all of that. I was also very in the masculine. I was OCD. I was a perfectionist, and I had the attitude like if anything was going to get done right, it had to be done by me, and I didn't trust anybody other than myself. So honestly, being able to find the flow is about learning how to let go of the control that you think you have on everything, because honestly, you don't really truly have control over anything. You're creating with the universe, but really most of the control is coming from the universe co-creating with you. So when you can get to the place where you can really just let go of that and either control all the factors in your life, that's when you just get into the flow and things just work out.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we struggle with as entrepreneurs, is this idea that nobody's going to be able to do it as good as we can, or nobody's going to care about it as much as we can. And I know for a lot of people it's really hard to let go and to allow this process of somebody else coming in to support you in your business and to make their contribution. And, what would you say to somebody who has trouble letting go because maybe she thinks nobody's going to do it to her standard or care about it as much as she does?
Well, for me, it's really more about letting source come in and that kind of flow. But what I tell people about that is, the sun's coming up every single day. Animals are propagating and new species are born every day. Our Earth is orbiting. Those kinds of things are happening without our control. Why is it that we don't think that we can let anything else happen without our control? We're just human beings, and there's such huge, amazing forces at work for us. So why don't we just step back and see what happens? What do we have to lose if we just step back and watch what happens when we just let the ease come in and let go of the control, and amazing things just start flooding into your life. And that's when it becomes easier to trust it, because you start seeing that happen for your own eyes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fear around letting go. So to understand that it's okay. And I think too, we talk about universal laws, and there's this law of perpetual transmutation of the energy, and it states that everything's always changing. The universe and everything within it is always in a state of flux. So in a way, would you say that trying to control everything is kind of an illusion?
Absolutely. And also it's actually preventing things from coming into our life. And I love how you say that, you bring up that everything's constantly changing, because a lot of us have this illusion that our lives are staying the same. Like maybe we look back and go, I haven't done anything with my life, just been the same for the last 20 years. But the real fact of it is that it's changing constantly, but you just keep recreating the same thing over and over again. So maybe it's time to start trying to create something new, and just understanding that you are creating something new every second, to me, helps. And it helps other people understand that.
Yeah, thank you. And so you're a manifestation coach. Tell us a little bit how you started that business.
Well, actually, I believe that the cancer was part of manifestation for me. Um, I will never regret getting cancer because it changed my life forever. Not only did it show me the things that I needed to do for myself, like, things like forgiving myself and forgiving others for things from the past, and also to learn that I needed to truly be authentic and take care of myself and all that self-love and self-care. But I also was able to manifest at the same time 12 months of paid time off. And so it was the thing that I guess the push that I needed and the time that I needed, because before that I was in corporate nursing, and I I chose to not go back to it. And it gave me that backing that I needed to start researching. And I knew nothing about life coaching whatsoever. I just knew that there was a divine urge, a divine push. And so what I basically did, the way I do everything, is I follow divine urge. So if source tells me to look here, I look here. If source wants me to do this, I do that. And in doing so, I'm led down a path of stepping stone after stepping stone, to where I want to go. And that's basically how it worked. I never had to spend much time worrying about what do I do or how do I do it. I just allowed source to guide me every single step of the way. And I just started seeing different teachers show up online, or different, even free offers. Like I didn't have to spend hardly any money to get any information, because anytime I would have a question, I would soon see that answer just pop up into my feed on Facebook, or on YouTube, or wherever it would be, or somebody would send me a message through regular conversation. So it was just a one step after the next, following those urges and those answers. And so I just basically researched, how do I start this business, and it just flowed and happened, and it was very easy.
And so who do you work with at the moment as a manifestation coach?
I like to work with people who are who've tried to manifest before, but they're not getting the results that they think they should be getting. They're like, I'm trying all the stuff, I'm trying all the tricks of the trade, and I'm just not seeing why I'm not getting those results. But I also work with people who are needing to heal, because part of my story is a story of self-healing, of quite a few different things, of chronic illnesses, of mental illnesses. And I actually started out first, my first niche was to help people heal from fibromyalgia, because that was something that I had healed from. And it just sort of evolves, and changed. So my niche keeps sort of changing as time goes by. But those are the two main people I like to work with.
And, it's really common, isn't it, that people have tried manifesting and for whatever reason it hasn't worked for them. But have you noticed any pattern or any trend or any common theme in people that have tried all of the tricks and tried all of the techniques but haven't gotten the results that they're wanting?
That's a really good question. I think the only really huge pattern I'm seeing is that a lot of people are really emotionally wounded, and they have not dealt with those wounds yet. They haven't dealt with the trauma from their past. They have limiting beliefs that came as a result from them. And so they're telling themselves things over and over. I call them mind scripts. They're telling themselves these things that prevent them from manifesting. And so the core of what I do is to basically, especially in the beginning, is to go in and help them find out, well, the reason why you're not manifesting is because you're shooting yourself in the foot. What is it that you're telling yourself? What is it that you believe that's not serving you? And why is it there? I do believe in finding the source of the initial emotional wound. One, because it can take out some of the weight of that belief. If we understand where that wound came from or where that belief came from, then we can understand, well, this is why I've been thinking this all my life, not because it's true, but because somehow I got that idea from something somebody told me or something somebody did to me. And so then once we understand it's not so important what I was believing then, now I can actually choose to believe something different.
That's so empowering. I love hearing things like that. Okay, so I'm thinking about, how long have you been doing this for now, your manifestation business?
About 2.5 years now.
Okay, so thinking about your business in the beginning and comparing it to where you are now, being able to reflect back, I'm sure there's been lots of progress and lots of changes. But what would you say is one of the big lessons that you've learned as a female entrepreneur?
All these good questions. The biggest lesson that I've learned is that people we're all trying too hard. We're all fighting against our own energy. We are such energetic beings, and if we can just give in to that energy and allow it to work for us, the thing is we think that we're working for the energy, but it's actually working for us. And if we can understand that, we can start just sort of letting things happen for us instead of trying so hard. Like I said, I've lived a long life of that typical type A personality, and I was moderately successful. I mean, I made 6 figures in corporate nursing, did all that, climbed the ladders, and I've noticed that I'm much more successful when I take away that the trying so hard. The first half of my life was about trying really hard and struggle and stress and all those things that come along with that corporate world. And now this the second half of my life, I'm in my 40s, is about ease and alignment and allowing and understanding that I can be more successful in a state of ease than I can in a state of trying really hard.
And you mentioned alignment, and it's a word that gets thrown around a lot these days, but to you, how would you define alignment in the work that you do with your clients?
I would define alignment is being as connected as you can to and a lot of people call it your inner being, but I call it your true being, because we are all, and you hear this so much, but we're all just temporarily living in these bodies, and we're so much more. The energy that we encompass is all knowing and all it's everywhere, and we are all connected. And I feel like when we come into the planet, we're born with this huge wide open funnel that connects us to our source. But as we get conditioned through society, from school and churches and government, this funnel begins to close off, and our connection to our true being really gets pinched. It can never truly be completely cut off, but it really gets pinched. And So for me, alignment is about opening that funnel back up and receiving as much connection with my true being as I possibly can, because that's where all the answers are.
And so I think that jigsaws really nicely into, the be, do, and have model. And, the be part of that is who are you being now, and who do you need to become, or who do you need to step into to be able to, run your business that way or live your business that way. But I think as female entrepreneurs, sometimes we can be very, very good at sabotaging our success and dimming our light and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I know we've all experienced it at some point, and I was wondering if you could share what your favourite way of sabotaging yourself is.
Well, I think we all have a lot in common, because I think the way that a lot of us do it, and the way I sure do it, is doubting myself, and in that whole, who are you to be teaching this to other people? It's, especially because of the way my upbringing was, and the way I spent most of my life feeling, I had a very low self-esteem, just complete zero self-worth. So to go from that and gradually expand into wanting to share my message and teach others, there's been a lot of times where my ego will pop back up and say, hey, who the heck are you to be even telling anybody any of this? And I just have to remind myself, I like to think of the ego like a screaming toddler. We don't listen to the advice that our little toddler's given us. We still love that toddler, and we we can pat it on the head and walk away from it, but not listen to it. And that's how I think of my ego, is just something that is going to always be there. I can love my ego, but not give any worth to what it has to say. And it's just about reminding myself of that.
I love that analogy. It makes so much sense. So much for sharing.
Uh-oh, you froze on my end.
I was just saying thank you so much for sharing that analogy. That's
okay. Yeah, you're welcome. I love to use analogies in my teaching, because I think it really helps people to really grasp some of these concepts that come in that are kind of broad. So sure.
Some of the people that listen to this show send emails, and a theme that comes up in those is feeling tired and feeling a little bit run down or a little bit exhausted because they're doing all of the things. But they often ask, how can I call more energy into my life? And I was wondering, it might be valuable to the audience if you were able to share any ideas you might have about ways that they might be able to call more energy into their life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's very multifaceted, the answer. And it kind of takes me back to one of my awakenings that I had, and when I had truly got to the point of healing from fibromyalgia, because one of the main symptoms of fibromyalgia, besides pain, is just total lethargy, to the point of sometimes not being able to write your name or even talk. But for me, it's always been a very holistic thing. And so I had to do a lot of stuff. I had to change my diet. I had to change my exercise habits. I even did things like becoming more authentic, because for women especially, we tend to release our energy. We kind of project our energy onto, say, our children or our partners, and like a lot of us are caregivers. Like I was a nurse. Well, I've been a nurse for over 20 years, so like my energy gets projected onto patients, and not all of us know how to get that energy back. So doing things to be more authentic and have a lot of self-care routines is some way to bring some of that back. Protecting ourselves from other people's energy is another way to keep from being drained so much. But I would say the very, very top, most important would be to meditate, because we go back to this funnel, and when we meditate, we are opening that funnel, and all the energy that has ever existed, it is there for us, waiting for us to accept it. And that's a really good way to get that energy back for us that we've expended during our day or whatever it is.
Now, do you have any tips for meditation? Because this is something that I know in my psychology business, we talk to our clients about meditating, and then when I'm in my business coaching business, I'm teaching clients about meditation. But it's even something that I struggled for a little while. And do you have any tips or any ideas for somebody who maybe they've never tried it, or maybe they've tried a couple of times and it didn't really work for them, or they didn't feel like they were doing it the right way? Do you have any advice about a simple way that people might be able to, experience a win with meditation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many different ways to answer that, because number one, there's no right or wrong way to meditate. I don't believe that at all. I think there's what works for each person and might be different. So I would say number one, try a lot of different things. There's a lot of ways to meditate. You can sit and just stare at a wall. You can stare at a candle. You can close your eyes and meditate and focus on your breathing, or you can listen to a YouTube guided meditation. And I think that's probably the easiest way to start, because you're not as tuned into your own thoughts when you're listening to someone else. Now, probably eventually you want to be able to get away from the guided so that you can be more in alone with your thoughts. But again, there's no right or wrong. So the other thing that I like to tell people about, because a lot of people say they don't have time to meditate. So you can meditate in your car before you go into work for 5-10 minutes. You can take a jog or a run or a walk. That's a meditation, because you're focusing on a singular thing. It's a form of meditation. Even driving long distance can be a form of meditation. So doing art is a meditation. A crossword puzzle is a meditation. There's just being out in nature is a really good way to meditate. There's endless amounts of ways that you could be meditating, and it's not right or wrong. It's whatever you do that raises your vibration and gets you to stop all this busy mind chatter that's constantly going on in your mind.
Thank you so much. Now, how can people get in touch with you, Crystal, if they want to follow up on some of the things that you've been discussing today?
I do have a Facebook group, a free Facebook group, the Spiritual Collective Academy. So that's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. I do have a website, mindflyholistic.com. It's still under a little bit of construction. I've had a lot of changes lately, but that is a way to get a hold of me. I also have a business page, MindFly Holistic. So any of those ways, and anybody can also just friend request me if they'd like and message me. I don't have any problem with that. I'm under Crystal Allen. I recently changed it. It's, oh goodness, I can't remember. It's Crystal Allen Spirit Guide in Training. Yes.
Okay. I will put all of your contact details in the show notes. Yes, so that anybody who's interested in reaching out to Crystal and having a chat with her, more than welcome to do that. And all the information will be there in the show notes. So Crystal, just before we finish up today, is there any final words or anything else that you would like, these entrepreneurs to know?
I think I really want people to just understand, and this has been my main message from probably the very beginning, is that we are all natural creators. And this thing that everybody's talking about, manifestation, it's not a trick. It's not some ritual that you have to learn. It's who we are. We are creators. We are part of source just as much as source is source. And so we don't have to try to create. We're doing it constantly. The only thing that's happening is that we've got things that are getting in our way from doing it in the way we want to do it. So it's not as hard as everyone can make it out to be. And that's what I really, really want people to know, is that it's an easy, innate thing. It's something that it's natural in us. And so if you're having difficulty, reach out to somebody who can help.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and for all of your words of wisdom and advice. I'm sure you're going to get inundated with messages from our listeners. And thank you so much, Crystal. I love all of your work, and I've really loved watching your journey as well. We were just saying before we started recording that Crystal and I have been commenting on each other's posts and following each other for a little while now. So, but this is the first time we've actually met, so to speak.
And I definitely love seeing you grow as well.
Thank you. It's just been such a pleasure to actually be able to sit down face to face and have a conversation with you and hear more about the amazing work that you're doing. So thank you so much for giving up some of your time today. And I will look forward to continuing watching your journey as you go along.
You're so welcome. Thank you much for having me today. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you so much for listening today. I really hope that you enjoyed it and got a lot of value from it. Help me help others by sharing this podcast. And if you feel called to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, remember to let me know so that I can send you a very special thank you gift. Now go and build your dream business, and I will see you next time. Bye.